sell by auction, what do I need to have?
You need the right ingredients to sell by auction. One, you've got to know the motivation of the vendor. So you've got to be wanting to sell. Number two, another ingredient is having the right possession of the property, so the time frame that you want it to be done in. Something with tenants, generally, unless it's targeted at investors, isn't the right ingredients. And we've got to nail the price and the marketing guide on an auction.
What about staging, styling? Recommendations there?
Always stage it.
Why
Take away the personal items from the property.
Yep.
So we're going from live mode to sell mode. Less is more when it comes to selling a property, because someone doesn't live how you live. They live how they want to live in a property. Having modern, clean, fresh will get that emotional attachment that buyer feel when they walk in a property.
And what about campaign? What does that look like? Opens, marketing?
So selling a auction private treaty, it's generally a very similar campaign. You'll have very structured open times throughout an auction campaign. So we'll know we're opening it twice a week, every week, and generally your auction's on your fourth week. Working really well with auctions at the moment is your midweek auction. You're not in competition with other auctions on a Saturday. You do it a Thursday, so it happens before the Saturday auction, so you're getting all of the buyers there. There's no risk that they want to see another property at the same time.
Yep.
It worked really well.
And if I'm a vendor, how do I tackle those nerves about the auction? What do you recommend?
All I say is let's trust the process. But you've got to be confident in your agent. So you've got to trust your agent first and foremost. I've got one coming up and she said, whatever Casey, whatever you think works, you've got my full trust. And from that point, I know we're having a successful auction campaign because we're both on the same page and we have trust. But you've got to trust your agent to be able to get the job done and trust the auction process. So it is a very set process. Everything's done at specific times. When a property comes on the market, when your first open is, when your second e-brochures, your property pushes, all of that is done at a very set time frame. And it's actually all done really quite quickly and early in the campaign, because the buyers we find in the first couple of weeks of the campaign are generally the buyers. You're not usually finding your buyer at week 3.
And other than staging and styling, what other things should a vendor consider if they're going to auction in terms of presentation of the property?
Deciding whether to sell with tenants or without is a big thing. I always recommend, where possible, sell without tenants. Look, there's the odd opportunity where a tenant has presented the property beautifully and they're really willing to work with us, but generally it can be quite hard to work with selling with tenants because you've got access twice a week. So you're really restricted on when you can show the property. If someone's coming out from Sydney and they say, hey, can I get through this afternoon? And your tenant says, no, sorry, it doesn't work for me. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
Where if you've got a vacant property, you've got it staged, you've got it styled, you've got full access.
Yeah.
And it does cost, right? So it's got to work within your budget. If it doesn't work with having the property vacant, the cost of styling, then there is platforms where we can fund it for you and it can be paid on settlement. But it all comes back to the individual client and tailoring that to their needs and wants and goals.
And that funding, does it include minor repairs such as a paint or flooring throughout?
Yep. We just had a property that we listed last month and sold. We arranged for the tenant to vacate. We done paint, carpet, staging, and we funded all of that through a funding service. It was called Realty Assist, but it's basically a funding service to be able to present the property as best as possible. And without that, we would have left at least 50 grand on the table.